Thank you very much for this kind introduction. And well, hello, everybody. My name is Irakli Beridze. I'm, as introduced, head of the Center for AI and Robotics for one of the UN agencies called UNICRI. This is probably one of the sort of oldest or longest running UN initiatives. When we started our work back in 2014, bringing the issues of AI at the United Nations level to discuss with member states to ensure that basically the bottom line of our task or our work is to ensure that AI is used to solve problems, but at the same time, it is done in a responsible and human rights compliant manner so that concrete issues, concrete problems are solved with use of powerful technology like AI, but at the same time, it's done in a proper way. So that, and it's a grandiose challenge. The name of my keynote, the way I wanted to introduce, was that AI governance is a major challenge of our times. And I stand by these words because I think that from this time to the foreseeable future, one of the top challenges what we as a sort of humankind, international community need to solve is to solve the governance of this very, very powerful technology. Why? Because the technology and AI, as it's been demonstrated here by a number of other speakers, is growing exponentially, and it will become more and more powerful. And we do need to channel it for the sake of, or for the sort of our service, so that we as a humankind will benefit from it, and it has enormous potential, as you all know it. Now, I'm not going to sort of go into the definition of AI. There is no formal definition of AI, not by the United Nations or anyone else, and there is no need for that. It is a very powerful technology which probably mimics every behavior of the cognitive and others of the human beings. But what is important is the three ingredients what makes AI, and some other speakers already mentioned it. It's a lot of data, it's a computational power, and of course the talent, the algorithms which very talented people are creating. Why it is important, these three components, was that while AI existed, or kind of notion of AI starting from 50s, it has not fully taken off, other than in some scientific circles, especially not on the main scale, until we started to collect enormous amount of data, manage the very powerful compute, and created algorithms with the support of the very, very talented people and invested money in that. Now, right now, when in 2015, I organized, and I'll show you a slide about this, a first meeting of AI at the UN General Assembly. And this was not such a long time ago, right? I mean, only something like 8-9 years ago. There were many UN delegations who thought that this was a pure science fiction, and there were some who actually formally complained about me that I brought a joke subject or a subject which was a total science fiction to the United Nations. And as the technology itself exponentially grew, and now everybody talks about it, the understanding and the need for the governance has also exponentially grown. And right now we have the whole big race of how we manage the governance of the AI on all different levels. Here, United States issuing a presidential act, Chinese government is issuing different type of governance initiatives. We had AI Safety Summit at the UK with the 32 or so heads of states got together and started to talk about what to do with this powerful technology. A summit at Davos, and I was present actually in both at the AI Summit or at Davos. Davos was fully dominated by AI. I'm sure some of you went there this year, and this was just all about AI almost. And I think, and I expected it will be the same thing in the next year to come, from the technical, also from the policy or governance perspective as well. What happens at the United Nations? AI has increasingly become a top priority of the UN. Secretary General Antonio Guterres, when he became a Secretary General in 2017, and I can tell you a little anecdotal story about that, one of his first speeches, he mentions that AI is a game changer. It can change our lives in a spectacular fashion. And that kind of saved my career as well, because I was advocating AI within the UN for 2 years, and everybody thought I was crazy. And then I said, okay, here is a Secretary General who also says that. And then from that point on, most of the UN agencies adopted AI programs, AI leadership activities, different task forces, and at the UN we have numerous now AI initiatives. We have AI for Good Summit, which is running in Geneva under the leadership of ITU with the 43 partner UN agencies. We have interagency specialized group on AI governance specifically, and different organizations are contributing to that. And at the end, of course, Secretary General last year created an advisory board, which is directly tasked to come up with the blueprint of the AI governance instrument. Totally. It's a very mammoth task. It's a very difficult task, of course, to bring not only the advisory board members to agree, but actually entire world. I mean, most of you are, and we are at the sort of heart of the EU, and you see how policy making is happening at the EU level or even national level, and imagine how difficult it can be when you need 193 countries to agree on something. And international policy making is a very difficult task in general, and it takes us as an international community a long time to agree on certain things, and especially growing technology or changing technology like AI. Now, this is the actually slide from that first meeting when we hosted the first meeting of the AI back in 2015. That's when a lot of people thought that this was an insane initiative, and why would UN tackle it? There were also questions that, like, why are you bringing robots to the UN? And a lot of people mixed it, and they thought that AI was robots. And this was the moment when people thought the Terminator was AI, and that kind of. And the interesting is that how much our understanding has been sort of refining from over and over. And I think that, I mean, what ChatGPT did, and that was the sort of an eye-opener for many people. Said that, oh, okay, what is AI? And for when you mention, okay, ChatGPT is AI, they said, okay, wow, this is the real thing. Now, on the governance side, so UN adopted a UN General Assembly resolution on artificial intelligence, safe, secure, and trustworthy AI systems, encouraging everyone to pay a lot of focus to that resolution. Why it is important is that the letter and spirit of the resolution is to ensure that AI used in a responsible and human rights compliant manner. And there is a general consensus about this. How it is applied, it's a different story, and how this is going to continue, it is also a different story. But at the same, but as a least, nobody says that we have to create AI which will harm other people, and that's already a very good thing. Now, on the side of the AI, so what can we learn about governance through the lens of the AI for law enforcement? And why we talk about the law enforcement? Law enforcement probably, as you would agree, is one of the most sensitive application of artificial intelligence actually in any other fields, right? It's most controversial. It's something that what general public is afraid of, from both, actually, from the side of the privacy and balancing with the security. Even there are aspects of how AI could be used by criminals, terrorists, and others. And at the same time, how to ensure that, yes, crime needs to be solved. Our center is tasked to come up with both, basically, or actually three main tasks, what we are dealing with and starting for many years now. One is a governance instrument for the law enforcement to ensure that they use AI, but in a human rights compliant manner. It's a difficult task. And at the same time, to understand how criminals can use AI, because there are numerous ways right now when criminals can actually conduct crime with support of AI tools and applications. And at the same time, to do all of this in a systematic way so that we have all these tools available. Now, starting from 2017, we start working with Interpol and created something what we call AI for law enforcement movement. And the first task was to ensure that countries would cooperate and share data and information. What are the AI tools they are working on and how they solve concrete problems. And the second was to ensure that they understand the AI governance from the lens of the responsible use and human rights, and they will have the available tools actually to do so. So data. Data is important, and and we of course know this. Um, Data has, we've been collecting enormous amount of data. Can I get a water actually from somebody? So by now, we collected around 45 zettabytes of data, actually a little bit more than that. And it is expected that by 2025, next year or year after, we will collect 175 zettabyte of data, which is a lot of data. And no law enforcement officer, no combination of the law enforcement agencies, or anyone actually can properly interpret that amount of data. That's why we need AI tools. Every single agency actually we've spoken to in different parts of the world, in different regions of the world, either already using AI tools to solve concrete problems or are definitely interested in that. And I can even argue that every single crime or solution to the every single crime can benefit from the AI applications, and there is no crime actually which anybody can tell me that cannot benefit from the AI tools, including very simple crime areas as well. Now, at the same time, so therefore AI systems potential is definitely undeniable. It boosts data and analyzes completely repetitive tasks very fast. It improves detection, prevention, and investigation cases, and it safeguards the well-being of the officers as well. Our center is running a very unique project on combating how AI can save children by combating sexual exploitation and abuse. And through that, and I give you an example. For example, officers confiscate a computer or a device from an accused sex offender, and then you have billions of images there, horrible images, children as young as few weeks old being abused. And imagine that these officers need to go through all that data. If not the AI classifiers, which they're using, and they should be using it more extensively, it takes people to actually go through image by image, video by video, and it takes them months or even sometimes years to classify that data. So not only that, I mean, they've been helped with these tools, but at the same time, their well-being is being saved as well. Now, what are the real world benefits of the AI tools in the law enforcement? And then we have numerous use cases in that regard. We have finding children from the sexual abuse materials, and over there, our center has sort of whole database of the use cases, how this is working, uncovering new leads, or even authenticating the evidence. And in that specific crime area, the AI is probably the crucial part of any investigative solutions which is happening right now in the world. There were cases when children been saved because AI application have identified through analyzing the data, for example, from the hotel booking websites, and some of the major booking websites cooperated with law enforcement agencies and provided the data, and then run the AI tools and actually found the specific rooms where the pictures were taken and children were saved through that. So AI certainly does save children, and our program, which is called an AI for Safer Children, which right now services 112 countries in the world and provides 80 plus AI applications, is a quite a powerful example of that. Now, at the same time, it comes with not without controversy. There are a lot of course, data collected not in a responsible manner, and then there's a lot of applications which does threaten the sort of well-being of all of us. And obviously, if not done properly, introducing AI in law enforcement does pose a serious concern, and rightly so. And there are many places in the world where this has been a case, and this has actually caused a serious issues, and it keeps sort of causing serious issues as well. It can have a serious negative impact on the human rights, and probably all of us understand how this can be done. It can actually erode the rule of law and the principles and undermine public trust. And I would focus a little bit more on the public trust side, because for the law enforcement or for anyone to have the real sort of a crime area solved with the support of AI, you do need to have public trusting your law enforcement agencies doing so. And that sort of ensuring that public trust has been always a very difficult place. Our center is running another project which actually aims at supporting the sort of bridging that gap between the public and their law enforcement to ensure that AI tools are properly understood, and also explained as well to the public that how the data is collected, what is it done, and how certain sort of projects could be done, that we would anonymize the data, for example, of anybody, so that people would not be exposed to this. Now, how to reconcile the law enforcement needs for the innovative AI tools with the AI's potential risk and public distrust? And we definitely need a proper governance. We need governance tools. We need those governance tools to be implemented in the countries, and I'm talking about on the global scale, and it is very necessary to have all of this done for 193 countries, and it's a very difficult task. So what happened was that when we started our sort of a joint work with Interpol, and first task was to ensure that law enforcement agencies share the information about the AI tools they use, and they have the data and support and the understanding how to use this properly. But at the same time, all of them were coming to us and asking that, look, we want to use the AI because we need to do it, but at the same time, we don't know what does it mean to use it responsibly, and we don't know what does it mean to use, especially with a human rights compliant manner. So then our task became to create a governance instrument for all of them, and that's quite a huge policy challenge, so that on the one hand, it would be supportive for their purposes. At the same time, it would be human rights compliant, and it would be applicable to the 193 countries. So last 3 years, we spent actually creating this governance instrument, and what we call it a toolkit or AI toolkit for the responsible use of AI by law enforcement. And we did unveil the toolkit in 2003, last summer in June in Singapore at the Interpol Science Conference, together with the Secretary General of the Interpol was there, from the UN side, myself was there as well, and I know there will be a photo of the Jürgen Stock, I think, who was there as well during the unveiling, and we very much appreciate the support of his as well. So what does this entail? It is a quite a complex and large document consisted of 7 different resources, and very practical. And in principle, if you take all of that and implement it in your national agency, you should have a pretty good base and a cover to use AI in a responsible way. But at the same time, implementation portion becomes a very difficult task as well. Translating this governance instrument into the national practices, into the standard operational procedures, also becomes quite a challenging actually undertaking. And therefore, our next phase of the initiative, which actually we are working very closely with the European Commission, who funded the first phase of the initiative, is going to fund the second phase of the initiative, will entail working with regions, with countries directly to help them to adopt the global standards on the responsible use of AI in the law enforcement. There are countries who would be helping us and supporting us in doing so, and there are countries who already supported in the creation of this governance instrument. The process itself was very inclusive, so we had stakeholders and different groups from all parts of the interested parties there. We had government representatives in separate subgroups. We had law enforcement there. We had private sector, civil society, academia, and many others. And After we finished the creation of this instrument, we tested it in 15 different countries for over a year so that they would use it for the national practices, give feedback, and then we would improve the instrument. So this is what I'm talking about, how the entire sort of a toolkit approach of the governments was globally would adopt the globally accepted principles, holistic principles, laws, ethics, responsible AI innovation. And the main idea was that to ensure the good governance, you need to minimize the harm, you need to have a human autonomy, and you need to have a fairness, and many other initiatives which would be included in that as well. Now, as I said, next stage of this sort of a global movement would be to ensure that this document will keep improving and at the same time will be implemented in as many countries as possible. It could be sort of adjusted, adopted, but at the same time it should serve a good base so that, as I said, it on the one hand, police would need those tools, and again, nobody should have any illusion that AI could be banned from the use of policing. And we're very happy to see that EU AI Act also did not ban the use of AI by law enforcement. It will regulate, it will ensure that it is used, but at the same time, we want to make sure that it is done in a proper and human rights compliant manner. Now, this is the available toolkit. It has a website to it, and all the governance instrument is part of it. And this governance instrument became one of the practical examples at the United Nations level and at the global level how AI can be governed. So we don't, and certainly myself, I don't say that this is the way or only way to do it. There will be many different governance models on the AI in different fields, and in some fields different things would work. Of course, this is not a legally binding instrument, so countries don't have to do it. But at the same time, this is a very good base to ensure that in a specific area, especially in an area which is so sensitive and so in some cases controversial, could be used as a model or as a governance model that countries can adopt, and they would solve their issues. There will be a number of things happening actually at the UN level. The advisory board, which I mentioned, will come up with the governance blueprint, and we don't know exactly what shape it will take. Whether it will be kind of a more treaty-based mechanism, which off the record, I personally do prefer that type of governance models when countries agree, they come adopt a treaty, and they have an implementing organization or even with the verification sort of a mechanism embodied in there, so to ensure that everybody complies with that. Maybe it's very idealistic for the AI right now. It could adopt more on the CERN type of approach, or it could adopt different type of approach, but we will see it by the summer. The shapes of this blueprint will be known, and in September there will be a summit of the futures at the UN, and the intention is that this model will be introduced there for the member states considerations, and then next steps will be taken to there. I think that we still have a long way to go before we will have a serious governance or sort of a very functional governance mechanism, because you have the AI which is developing, and this morning people were talking about AGIs and whether it is possible or not, and I'm not going to get into it, especially not during this keynote, but we will certainly see many developments on the technical side, and AI is there only to grow, and it will not stagnate, obviously, and I think all of you agree with that. And therefore, our main challenge, especially on the level of the policy making, is to ensure that this technology is properly governed, and to ensure that this technology actually provides the benefits and does not create harm for all of us. With that, I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.